we're in pretty good shape here on this carving. We're really getting down to the wire on it. Let me show you what I've done, and then and we'll be talking about some of the tools. When I get to this stage in the carving, I tend to switch to a whole different set of tools and a whole different method. I get off the vise, I want to sit down, I want to work close. You know, I get my magnifying glasses out and I have good light and all that stuff. So the head is pretty well fitted, and I'll talk about the beard in a minute. And for the body, I've completed the most of it. I've gotten the hands roughed out. I have to round these a little bit, and this I have to be really careful with because this is short grain here, and I've already had a couple pieces of the fingertips go off, so good thing I started with enough wood there because the fingers are getting shorter and shorter. So I have to be very careful with those. I find that if I round them a little bit, it helps, so I try to do that. Also, when I was talking about the belt, one thing I forgot about was this little piece of the belt that sticks out. That makes it look much better. But you can see the different levels. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 levels to the belt, plus it has to curve back under the hand. So, and I got it in the back. And then one of the things I still have to tweak a little bit, but I've already made some adjustments, and that's at the having the belt. First of all, it's a little wavy, which isn't really realistic for a big heavy leather belt, so I got to kind of straighten the line out a little bit and make sure that this line, when it comes across, that it connects here. On this side it's behind the hand, so you have to make sure that when you look here and here, it looks like it's going through and doesn't go off, you know, in some weird direction. I'm putting a couple little tucks here, little V's. I'll talk about those later. I put a couple buttons in. One of them is actually going to be covered by the beard, but you know, it's in there anyway. I know it's there. A couple little creases on the elbows, and I put a couple up here. I may put a couple in the back. I'm thinking of actually texturing this whole thing so it's kind of maybe a woven, almost a sweater kind of thing, and I might do that with a wood burning tool. I'll have to see. That's a lot of work, so let me decide if I'm going to do that. Under here, you can see I carved out, as I said I was going to, relieve some of the high spots so that the legs fit nice and tight. And then for the feet, one thing I did here was, I have to keep my marks on there. I made a little, right here, a little index mark. I put a mark on here and a mark on there. That way, each time I take the boot off and put it back on when I'm fitting it, I'll line it up the same way. I did that with the left and the right. Okay, and they're kind of going out a little bit. They're not just straight. So that way, because it's very specific to where that mark is, to how tightly it's going to fit. So you can see they look pretty darn good under there. And then the last thing I'm doing underneath here is I'm making this a little uneven, as I said I was going to do. And then here I'm going to clean this up with just a gouge of some sort, just so that it doesn't look all rough from off the saw like it does here. Once I'm done fitting these, and I can take this part off after it's glued in. For the boots, I did a little texturing with a little gouge, and I'll show you how I did that. I think that looks really cool. They're supposed to be just kind of like little, you know, sock slippers. I don't know. So that was the texture. I could have also done that with a wood burning tool. I'll talk about how I did that in a minute. So these are the tools that I'm using at this stage. I switch over to my super sharp, look at that mirror finish on there, really sharp lion knife, and that tool I can just shave off like thinner than paper. This is like a surgical tool, so I use that a lot. I use this one a lot that I reground with this curve shape. One of these days I'm going to get a lion's knife like this or some other one, which I find really handy to get into areas that are a little tough with a straight knife, or maybe they would take out too much. Still using the Stanley knife. That's still got a sharp blade, so I'll use that quite a bit. And then at this point I really start using these dockyard tools a lot. So I have two different size V tools. I have a little tiny 1.5 millimeter and a 3 millimeter. I use the 1.5 a lot when it comes to the beard. So I had started the beard remember, with this Denny tool before, and that's going to look about like this. That's about the cut that I'm getting on there. And then when I get to the end, I switch over to this little 1.5, and this guy lets me get all the thin hairs, and I'll get down in these grooves and really get the detailing of it. Now, one of the problems is which way the grain is going. And so on the ends here I'm going out this way, but really the grain's going up on this, so I have to go this way. The problem is when I come up and I hit to where this mustache is, it leaves a little divot in there. So what I'll do is take this sharp tool and I'll kind of score along under here. You'll never see it. I'll probably hit it with a wood burner anyway, and the paint would certainly swell it up. But that way when I come in here, a little piece pops right out and I get a nice look there. And I'm trying to get away from just having all this surface of carving all the same, and it just looks very kind of, you know, matted and plain. Now sometimes you want that for like a combed type of hair, but I want this to be a little rough, so you leave some high spots. That's where you take the larger V tool, you make bigger grooves and dents in the thing, and then when you get down to the smaller tool, you kind of follow along with that contour and you get something that looks good. Now for the mustache, I find the mustache is much easier if I actually pencil it in first. So I start under the nose, I kind of go pretty straight, and then I just start curving around more and more, and I bring my starting point out farther and farther. I'm always curving up. And that, I don't follow them precisely, but that really gives me an idea where this goes, so I don't start carving the wrong way. And for the eyebrows, I may do that, but I tend to have the problem with the eyebrows chipping off. So what I'll do for the eyebrows is to give them a little texture, just a few lines as an indication, but I'll do that with like a wood burning chisel. That's much easier for that. And it's also a good tool for under here, the nostrils. Use a little bit smaller one, maybe that's about a 3mm, and I will just chop down like that, and then I will take this curved one, is good for this, and just slice it out, and you get a perfect nostril. It's really a good tool for that. You can even use it for the mouth, cut in that way. Also use it for the buttons. So whatever size button I want, I'll go straight in with this, if you can see it. I'll go straight in, follow that around, and about 3 cuts, and I get the impression of the button, and then I come in to it and pop those little chips out, and then very carefully, watching my grain and everything, I will use this super sharp tool and round it off, and then I can just take a tip of it and stick it in there to get my little, where it sews in. That's all you need to do. And then I also use a little tiny one. I think that's either a 2 or a 3, I forget, for these little marks in here. Now what I do is I kind of have them going roughly in the same direction, but I vary it, kind of zigzag them around so they don't look like it's too uniform. And you go in, and when you get about halfway, then you got to start thinking about coming out, because if you start to lift when you think you're at the end of the cut, the length of the cut that you want, it'll be too long because it still has to come up and out. So I learned that the hard way. So it's really I go right down in, and I find a little bit deeper is good, and then I right away start to curve up, and it gives me a nice little divot. I hope you can see that. And I'll just carry that around. You know, see, that's a little too long, but then that's okay. I can just put another one next to it, or I can you know, vary the other ones, and it'll just look like it's it just blends in. They don't all have to be the same length and the same depth. Oh, one more tool. This one is a flex cut that I have, but it's a really steep angle of a V tool. I don't know what that is, 20 degrees or something. But what this is really good for is in these tight spots right here. If you want to clean out, you can never really get in there with a regular 90-degree V tool. So I highly recommend one of these. And I like this one as kind of a bent one, so that when I'm in here, okay, I can get out of that situation right there. So that's it. I'm not going to do any more videos on this until it's ready to paint. I'll do one painting video, but this has been a fun project, and it's been fun to put these videos together, and I hope to do another one soon. Bye bye for now.